Well, howdy, and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Today's Bread. Now, we're continuing the series on prayers and exhortations in the Psalms with this week's discussion on Have Confidence in God. Now, today's portion is Seek God's Mercy. Our scripture reference is Psalm 27, verses 7 through 10. The confidence that David expressed in Psalm 27 came from his seeking God. You can see it in verses 7 and 8. David did not come to God on his own merit. He came seeking God's mercy. In verse 8, David declared his obedience to God in seeking his face. Now, the word face is often used to denote God's presence. David knew that he continually needed God's presence in his life. Thus, his cry to God was for his continual mercy, help, and strength. David knew that he could not stand if God were to turn from him and remove his favor from David. That's verse 9. When we experience difficulties, we might think God has forsaken us. We may view difficulties as an expression of God's anger, a form of divine judgment. God's anger is poured out in his judgment. This will especially be true in the last days when God's wrath is expressed in terrible judgments on those who have rejected him. You can see that in Revelation chapter 6 and chapter 20. But God's angry judgments generally are brought against those who have revolted against him. God exercises discipline differently to his children. God's discipline does not come from his wrath, but from his love for us. That's Hebrews 12, verses 4 through 11. Now, in reading Psalm 27, verses 9 and 10, it might seem that David's confidence was faltering. It is possible that the circumstances of his life shook his faith in God, but David knew where to turn: God. In the end, he declared his confidence that God would not turn his back on him. So great was this confidence that David declared that even if his parents forsook him, God would not. In our times of doubt and anxiety, and we will have them, we can turn to God and find his help, even if those closest to us fail us. God never will. Thank you, and I pray that you've enjoyed today's edition of Fresh Daily Bread. I pray that these videos, in fact, all of our posts, are a blessing in your life. Now, Wednesday's prayer focus is for spiritual development across our nation. Pray that there would be a revival of faith, moral integrity, and a deeper relationship with God in every community. Now remember, Jesus, he's coming soon. Here's Wednesday's blessing. I bless you with ears to hear the lovely, the uplifting, and the encouraging, and shut out the demeaning and all the negative.